So,
on my Facebook too?
what's that?
Does it show up on my Facebook too?
No, it's just on mine, but you can share it off mine.
Okay.
And yeah, because I keep it public, so that's why. Uh, that's kind of I have to switch to public. Okay, here we go.
I'm enjoying all your interviews this week.
They're usually about 40 to 60 minutes.
I've been enjoying your interviews this week with
Oh,
your
you've been
friends.
enjoying them. Okay, yeah. Well, thanks. I
Got
appreciate
some
it.
cool people, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm a lucky guy. That those are it's drawn from my Facebook friends. So these are the people that my life has led me to know. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so we are live now with Sorya Em, who is a cultural worker, a community organizer, just somebody that is everywhere in LA where there's struggle or where there's some cool show, cool art show, or a cumbia night or something, you will find her. So I'm really excited. Well, not now. I mean, now we're all on the internet, but I'm really excited to have you here for the hour. Soraya, can you tell us a little bit how you got involved in community organizing?
Oh, hi, everybody. So honored to be here with Matt. How did I get into it? Just living in the neighborhood, kind of no choice, become a chola, or I don't know. I guess I was a chola and organizing. Not a lot of options.
So yeah,
Mhm.
did you
Sorry.
put up? No. I'm not trying. I think we had a sound glitch there. Yeah. So tell us about the neighborhood and like the specifics. A lot of us were trying to get the oral histories of the background information of the things that are going on.
Yeah. I grew up in downtown LA. I moved here with my family. We lived in Puerto Rico. I have a Filipino mom. Dad's Puerto Rican. After they left the service, they met in the 70s in the army, and it was the end of the Vietnam War. So they were part of the Vietnam era of things. And then when they got out of the army, we were in Puerto Rico. Moved here in the 80s. And then I grew up in MacArthur Park, Rampart, like the inner city, the opposite of like where my people are from, nature. I grew up in the real concrete, in the concrete streets for sure. And yeah, it wasn't until I was in middle school when I moved to Highland Park and I saw how green it was that I realized like why it was really hard to live in the inner city. And so environmental issues became really important to me at the time. And later on, when I got involved with a nonprofit, I learned about how like access to green space is like really crucial for inner city people. And the fact that we don't have that, the fact that we're inside, the fact that we might be in crowded conditions can exacerbate a lot of conditions, that we might blame people for, on their own. So really powerful information.
Yeah. Can you tell us about some of the like when the early formative experiences you had with organizing? Like, what were some of these places? What were some of the organizations?
Um, Emmanuel Presbyterian Church was like really radical to me at the time. That was the first organization I had ever encountered outside of like the Boys and Girls Club. There was a community program being started called Ola, that was headed by a really nice man named Mitch Moore, who's still around. It's a nonprofit that he doesn't run anymore. But we were the first Ola kids. I didn't know I was one of the first 10 Ola kids. My friend Mercedes, my two siblings, Omar and Neil, we were the first latchkey kids to be a part of that. We took excellent writing classes with someone I just reconnected with on Facebook, teacher Barnaby Martinez, someone I still know today. And it just changed my life. My mom was really radical in herself, being an artist, but she got a job. She had a union job too, and it took really good care of us. But she was always never ever home. So to do these kind of beautiful arts things outside of the house was great. And I quickly realized like the class analysis of where I was. Like, yeah, we were not rich, but hell no, we were not as bad off as some of the other kids coming to this program. So I really quickly realized my privilege and like where I wanted to work in society.
Yeah. So can you tell a little about your mom coming over from the Philippines? Like, what part of the Philippines, and like what was that journey like for her?
My mom, she's like a badass person from Cebu, and Philippines is a archipelago, and so there's 7,000 islands. It was impossible to completely colonize, but some roots of colonization are still here. The way my beautiful people just want to like change their beautiful nose and and change their skin color, like it's still here, the way we make fun of people with accents. If you have an accent, that means you speak another fucking language, right? So, but instead it's like something that we're embarrassed of with our accents. And I don't know where I went with that, but like my mom just taught me, like, yeah, we have an amazing culture in the Philippines, but like definitely was very oppressive. I actually didn't know what the hell my religion was for like a really long time because I like the way that I grew up. I love a lot of the culture that mom taught me, but I don't like, some of the stuff I had learned later on about Catholicism and kind of like where women are today because of that.
Yeah.
So mom was really helpful, not exactly an activist in that way, but definitely gave me a world perspective.
Right, right. So you mentioned that she's from the part of the Philippines known as Cebu. Can you tell us a little bit about historically about Cebu?
Cebu is Mactan. Cebu is a place that we remember as our chief Lapu Lapu. We are descendants of Lapu Lapu. We are the people that killed Magellan. Magellan tried to come and take over the Philippines. He had to try again. He was actually murdered by us. We are descendants of the people that murdered him with the technology of blades. With blades, he had guns, we had blades. We knew our territory where we were, and he had to go away. So they didn't come back. The Portuguese didn't come back for 7 more years. So we were successful in that. And I wish I knew that. I had to go to college before I dropped out. I'm so glad I learned that little bit. And I didn't even learn that in school. I learned that from a mechista. I was in mecha, and I actually learned that from my Chicano brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
actually. And that's
So,
quite a conversation, right?
so your father's Puerto Rican, your mother's Filipina, and you find yourself at college joining Mecha. Can you talk about the experience with that?
Yeah, I was in Mecha at PCC. We had the best Mecha. We had Filipinos, Nicolette, me and Nicolette.
Huh?
We were in Mecha, and we were bonded on social justice. I mean, there were Filipino groups too, but I didn't drive a cool Honda like dropped with rims, so I didn't feel like I could be in that group very much. So it was in Mecha that I learned a lot about my Filipino history, and I had already been an Aztec dancer. I've been a ceremonial Aztec dancer since I was 12 years old, and I had been adopted into a group, and I was raised partly in a very Chicano Lakota lifestyle.
Yeah.
So Mecha was, that was second nature. I mean, that was already like water. I was very grateful for that experience.
Can you speak to a little bit to how you joined this Dansanta group and like what it meant to you at the time? And
Yeah, yeah. So we're disconnected from our roots. I'm actually a Taino representative of Taino. We are a federally unrecognized tribe of Puerto, and on my father's side. And I had always been connected to that world, thank goodness. And I'm from Puerto Rico. To be in California, to be a Puerto Rican in California is like you never meet a Puerto Rican. I'm only now meeting Puerto Ricans in the last dozen years or so. Um, but to connect with my native culture, I was very much drawn to Mexica dancing. And because it was rooted so much in social justice, it was like perfect for me. I had moved into a neighborhood into Northeast LA in Highland Park, and there were history classes there. So I had history teachers, talk to me under a tree, about environmental issues. And I had learned about ADD, meditating, what kids needed. And I was always really hungry and thirsty. I'm the kind of kid that would even talk and sit and eat with Hari Krishnas. So I definitely wanted to hear, what these people were talking about. And so it was an older Chicano dude, and I just like loved he was talking about it, and he really validated, and he's like, that's cool, you want to come and learn drumming, but you have your own beautiful culture too. And so I learned about my beautiful culture. I learned about, and in a way that wasn't melting pot, because I found out that melting pot's like not that great. Melting pot just means they want to eat your tacos, but they don't want to fucking hear your stories, and that's not where I'm at. So I thought it was really beautiful to study that way, and I had a really beautiful experience. I mean, I'm really grateful for that. It really it galvanized me. I have like 187 stories because of it. We led boycotts to make sure that the this was before Bus Riders Union. we wanted to keep, or was it the beginning of, you tell me when Bus Riders Union started, but I just remember that I was on Sunset and Silver Lake, making sure that the fares didn't go above 80 cents. And I
Yeah.
thought that's how we spent our weekends.
Yeah. So
And
can you tell? Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is a design for like eventually for a wide cross section of people. So some people might not be familiar with some of these histories that we live in California are. So can you tell us a little about what Prop 87 was and how you got involved in the fight against it?
well, Pete Wilson, when he was our governor, the Proposition 187, if I could remember correctly, um, was going to take away services to undocumented folks. What I remember, because in the cultural group that I was in a very militant cultural Aztec group that wanted to make sure that we took care of our brothers and sisters, those of us with privilege. So I have the privilege of being born in this country. So I definitely wanted to learn about what was going to happen. If 187 happened, then that meant that our brothers and sisters could not access services like emergency room care. And the fear also just kept people away from like visits they were supposed to be at. What was the other extent of 187? 187. Medical, any social services people were not able
Teachers,
to. And
like
there was,
teachers. Yeah.
do you remember?
No, I remember. No, it was gonna make like teachers into snitches. It was gonna like the doctors had to refuse, teachers had to report their students, everything, just like everything. And if you didn't do that, you were a criminal. Like it was essentially like you were like aiding and abetting.
Correct. They tried to make us do that with bookstores too. They tried to make us like try to report stuff. That was something that was, yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, the 187 march is a historic march. There were two. There was a walkout, and then there was like the students walking out. My mom threatened me, and she's like, "You better not walk out." And so we didn't want to walk out. So I had to wait till Saturday, till the big march. Let them in. So I had to wait until Saturday to do the actual walkout. And that walkout was historic. There was 100,000 people there, maybe. I'm there with my group. We're there with the Mexica group, representing people, from Mexico, and we are walking down the street with as Native people. And it's funny. I remember a Native group, because back in the day, people used to tell us that we were not real natives. Mm-hmm. Northern natives and Southern natives used to just fight like that. So even that is very interesting. So I just had a brain fart, and I hope you guys forgive my saying so much. I'm finished with chemo. I have a little bit of chemo brain, but I've just finished chemotherapy and agreed to do an interview. I didn't have to agree, but some words escape me.
So I'm not laughing at the chemo. You said I didn't have to agree to this. So that's kind of funny. Like I appreciate you agreeing to this.
Agreed to this.
But you did agree to this, and here we are. Here we are. Can you tell us a little bit about the Bus Riders Union?
Oh, I can't. I wasn't involved with them.
Oh, you mentioned the Bus Riders Union.
Oh, they're badass. I just know that we did organizing to keep the buses, the fares low for passengers, and I believe that was before there was a Bus Riders Union.
Right. So the thing about these things, I realize a lot of people don't want to talk about things that they weren't organizing, they don't want to get credit for. But that's not really the purpose, because we're trying to give oral histories and just like kind of understandings for people that might not know. I mean, I don't know Eric, man. I don't know, or whoever it was that formed the Bus Riders Union. I know you, so I'm just asking, like, to tell the people, generally speaking, there was this group. It was the Bus Riders Union. It was great.
The Bus Riders Union is great. I highly recommend them. I actually grew up in LA without a car. I'm one of the few people that rode the bus till I was 10 months pregnant. I'm one of those people. I actually walked around in LA and stuff like that. Now I drive a car and I'm arrogant. I don't share the same problems with the peasants anymore.
With the peasantry. Yeah. The LA is a town where, where people in nice cars look down on people in new cars look down on people in used cars. People in used cars look down on people in cars that have different colors, and people in those cars.
And then we look back and we're like, but I have PPO insurance, and you know what that costs?
LA is a town where we're always looking for the reason to look down on someone else. All right, so today is May Day, but we're all stuck inside. So can you tell our audience a little bit about what tell us what May Day is for those who might not be familiar?
May Day is cool. May Day is a day that we're in solidarity with people all around the world because in the US, they still think it's weird, let me tell you. If I have a job, I call out sick. If I'm in school, I don't go to school. But it's always weird. No one knows why you do it. And, back in the 90s, nobody would even be at these May Day events. But it's important to show solidarity for workers. I think people forget that they are workers. Maybe we don't have all have blue collar jobs. Maybe some people have white collar jobs, but you're still a worker. Your boss still makes like hundreds of times more than you do. And there's a lot of things that we need. And if we have everything, there's no reason not to advocate for those that don't.
Yeah,
I mean, rich people are getting scared now that poor people are going to revolt. Is that why they care now? I always cared. I cared because I care. But now people are caring because they think people are going to come break their windows. It's a
yeah,
good idea to take care of everyone. It just makes
absolutely.
sense if you're not nice. I mean, I don't understand. Even like cruel in a cruel business sense.
Mhm.
You take care of people, they're going to work harder for you.
Yeah,
I know people that don't like people very much. They take care of those things. They take care of those things. And so ethically, I don't really have many morals, so you can't pull my heartstrings with that. But ethically, it makes a lot of sense to take care of workers. And the way people can show solidarity today, I don't think people have to feel guilty if they use Amazon for their business or whatever. I don't really care. But, right now is the time that we could just, if you don't have to order the mug, if you don't have to order the slippers today, today's the fucking day that maybe we show our solidarity for people getting sick and dying right now.
yeah,
Uh, Instacart, Shipped, Walmart, Target, Whole Foods, all those. Let's boycott them for a little while and kick their fucking ass, and then let's see what happens because it works. It's a lifestyle. Let me tell you all these things that I never bought my kids, and they're just fine.
yeah. All right. So you know that's what May Day is, generally speaking. So you have seen the growth of May Day as participating in it, go from a small thing to this enormous thing, right? So can you speak to when was the first May Day you went to, and what did it look like,
The first media I went to, I think, was in '93.
and how many people
Yeah,
were there?
under 20. Under 20 people. It was probably mostly Mexica dancers. Mexica dancers and anarchists and maybe some communists because sometimes I don't know the difference.
Yeah. Okay. So it goes from '93. When did it start growing to what it became?
I think when the Hermandad Mexicana started doing stuff. That's what I think. And then we joined them, of course.
And so what around what time is that?
Oh, I don't know. That's going to be in the 2000s for sure. I mean, that's more recent, after 2010. My daughter's the historian.
All right. Well, of course, there's 26, which was 2006, which was the Grand Historic March,
There we
the
go.
big one, yeah. Okay, so around that same time period in 2000, the 2000s, you started running a bookstore. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, yeah. My really good friend Chris Gillette, who didn't want to be on here today because he's shyer than shy. Um, his dad had a wonderful bookstore called Arroyo Books in Highland Park, and I don't know when they opened. I want to say the '80s. They were great. I only went there a couple times. It was a very friendly place. It was almost like it was like a community center, and they used to be on Figueroa. And this will be documented soon. I know that Avenue 50 Studio is working on documenting like some awesome shit that happened in this time, and it has to be documented. Arroyo Books is so important. They carried Latin American poetry and literature mostly. They ended up moving to Highland Park on Avenue 57, and um, when they closed, the PRC took over their lease, and the PRC is was the Popular Resource Center, and it was the Los Angeles headquarters for the Zapatistas, for the National Committee for Democracy in Mexico. So they took the space over that, and I was working with them as well. And Arroyo Books had to close. And Chris and I were like, what can we do? Like, your dad is closing. It was run by his dad. His dad, Phil Gillette, he was a Peruvian consul member, dude, honorary Chicano dude. And he had this really cool bookstore. Chris's dad is from Homeboy. Chris's mom works at Homeboy Industries. She just retired. Her name's Norma Gillette. She worked with Father Greg. Wonderful family. This bookstore was going to close. They had like VHS videos, and we already knew VHS was going out of, we're like, should we open a video store? My favorite video that he carried was like this dirty video with Penelope Cruz in it called Jamon Jamon. That was like the coolest video in the whole place. It's like her naked, sexy, and in this movie. So I was like, I don't know about the other movies. All the other movies went over my head. And then we had this opportunity at with Margaret Garcia, the artist, Chicana artist Margaret Garcia, down the street. She opened Galeria Mundo. And she's like, do you guys want to open your bookstore with me? So I just said yes, because I'm just a girl that says yes. And then we went there, and I got to have a little bookshop with Chris for a little while in Highland Park at a time when Floricanto was open, and that was a fucking awesome spot. Then there was Imish Bookstore run by Elisa and Fidel. They were at the Mercado La Paloma, and then they ended up being in Eagle Rock, where their beautiful shop thrived. Elisa ended up closing it a few years later, but it had a really long run. And then Frank had 33 and a third bookstore on Alvarado. That was amazing. And we were all actually we were all in touch during 9/11, because there was a point where we thought we had to give up the records of our customers and what books they were buying from us. Because Chris and we had changed the bookstore a little bit. His dad gave us a lot of great poetry and literature, like all the greats, Garcia Marquez and Lorca and all these people. It was great. But we were also like, we wanted to reflect our friends and our ideals. So, we had a lot of we had the Peace and Justice Center happening, at the same time. I wasn't instrumental in that at all, but I participated as a little street kid with what Lily Flor and Carmelo had going on. But it was a very, very like exciting time. Like, well, what are you doing right now? Like, you had to do something because you were responding to all the beauty and there was no rules. It was easy to get leases. You know what I'm saying? Margaret Garcia let me move in. I gave her like a few $100s. Like, I didn't have a lease with her. Bohemia Books, that's what we were called. We ended up moving to MacArthur Park because Mama's Hot Tamales had a cool opportunity there with the Institute for Urban Research and Development, the IURD from Pasadena. They had this cool spot, and they're like, hey, you want a retail space? Sure, what's the rent? The rent's 30% of whatever you make. I said, sounds good. So Chris and I moved in there, and we added more to our collection. We added chapbooks. We knew a lot of poets. We knew Jerry Quickly. Mike the poet had the Poets of the Round Table. So they're like, can we host it? Can you host it there? Yes, of course. So we hosted lots of poetry, lots of literature. We had the Unity Art Center happening just down the street, which I never got to collaborate with them, but I was in solidarity with them. Definitely. They were doing very important work. So we weren't just a bookstore. And a lot of people didn't come to shop. I mean, I was pre-Amazon. Some of y'all didn't even know about the cool books Chris would pick out. Like, you never heard of them until you walked into my fucking store and you wrote it down, and then you went and ordered them online. But it was a time it was weird. It was weird I just got a Kindle too. I just told Elisa, she's my really good friend that owned a niche bookstore. She's still my sister. We danced together. I told her I just got a Kindle. She didn't even answer me. There's just such paper snobs out there in the world. I like sitting in, I'm a paper hoarder. And my poor boyfriend, we had a fire last year and we had to move twice. We had some shady friends charge us $4 a square foot for a rental because we were desperate, some shady motherfuckers. And my man can't be dragging all the books that I love of my life with me. We had a fire. books get mold, and I'm so sad I got a fucking Kindle. It took all that for me to get a stupid Kindle. And Kindles are evil, man. They advertise other books when you're reading a book. I mean, that's just so dumb.
Oh yeah, that's not right. All
So
right.
I vowed to never get a Kindle like since 2004, and that's my little punk rock heart dying. I got a Kindle.
Yeah, yeah. So can you tell the audience a little bit about Margaret Garcia and who she is and how her legacy looms large?
Oh yeah, Margaret Garcia's badass. Oh, I love her. Margaret Garcia's an awesome painter. She's of like my parents' generation. Um, but like my friend. Um, Margaret is a badass painter that has been recognized by everybody, but also big people. She's collected by Cheech Marin. I believe she's part of the big people that are very big and huge. The Smithsonian. Is she part of the Smithsonian? Yeah, I think she's part of the Smithsonian too. So she's huge, and she loves people, and she loves her people, and she's all about justice. And I love her. She's from Northeast LA. East LA, I believe, and then she's now in Echo Park with her partner. And I'm really grateful for her letting us have our start in our bookstore in her space, because she really got it. It's not about sitting around and being self-serving about literature. I mean, I'm someone that doesn't come from academia. I mean, I have a mother that's hella educated, and we were educated at home, but I'm not formally educated at all. I haven't even finished PCC. I'd like to go back. I did a program at UCLA, but owning a bookstore really made me think I could do it. I could go back to school and do all this stuff, but I'm pretty self-taught.
Yeah. What can you tell us a little about the space Floricanto?
Oh, Floricanto was an anarchist bookstore. I believe they were an anarchist bookstore, and it was run by Anita Martinez. And you should have her and the other bookstore people on sometime. They were open for 2 or 3 years, I want to say. Yeah, 2 or 3 years. And they were in Cypress Park. And we were all in touch during 9/11 in 2002 to 2003, when we were worried about what our roles were as bookstore owners, and were they really going to make us give up lists like they were asking the librarians. So we were in solidarity with each other. We even when that movie Frida came out, we were asked to all come on to KPFK and talk about like what we thought about the movie, and it was nice. Like we were just the bookworm crew, you
Yeah.
know and I back those people up 100%. Just
So
to
what
be
about
there, having a bookstore and educating people. I mean, like, what's more beautiful than that? We're not Mormons, we're not Jehovah's Witnesses. We're just, they have their mission too. I should say I'm just as passionate as them. So never
yeah,
mind. We're
people
all
got
on
that? Yeah, yeah, I don't want to get into that. Image Bookstore. Tell us
the
about
yeah.
that.
Oh my God, Imish Bookstore, started by Elisa Garcia and Fidel Rodriguez. Excellent bookstore in Echo Park, Eagle Rock. Elisa started off at the Mercado La Paloma. She was one of the first vendors there. They have a vendor incubator program that's excellent, and she's well versed in them. She was in a couple of them, but she has a long line. Like she needs her own show. That girl, she works at Skylight Bookstore now, just because she just can't, get away from books. But I love her. I met her when I was in junior high. She was in college, and I immediately was like, I want to be like her when I grow up. She's like the first person I met that was in college, and her dad was a librarian, so I'm sure that had something to do with it. And her mom's a painter, and she opened this amazing bookstore, and it was a community center for many years. I was super sad when it closed, more sad than my own bookstore. I mean, my bookstore was nothing compared to this bookstore, and I even worked for her because I really believed in what she did, and she's just badass. And unfortunately, she closed because most people, like my bookstore, I refused to sell things like magnets and books and T-shirts. My partner, he would take them on consignment, but it was really confusing how to run a store, a retail space, when I'm just there for the books. So the people that kind of stayed open, they kind of figured out that they had to sell other things to stay open. And I know that bugged Elisa a little bit. It did, Jewelry was great. She always had like great, gorgeous things to keep her doors. But the books, always took just a tiny part of the sales. So she was at least open and invested to do other things to keep her store open. Whereas Chris and I were like, we want our weekends back. We were never able to afford employees. Frank, on the other hand, 33 and a third, that guy had volunteers.
Yeah. Well, I
But
want to ask you,
Anita and I, we were stuck at our stores. I never even got to visit her enough. So
I want to talk to you about 33 and third in a moment, but before that, I want to talk about you said that Mike Sonskin came through, Jerry Quickly came through. So what was the open mic that you were hosting there?
what was it?
Yeah, what was?
We didn't have a regular one. There was, or maybe there was. I don't remember. But they were like, that was my favorite event. Them and Antonia Darter after working with Paulo Freire. Those are like my two favorite events. Mike the Poet came and they brought all these amazing poets. I wish I could remember everyone. I don't remember everyone. There was amazing people at that table. I'll email you sometime. I'm sure you know some of them, some great people. And I was honored that that they used our space to release it because they actually published work like, at the bookstore or, we're in their chapbook and stuff. So that was really cool. Independent publishing was great. And getting to know all the independent publishers was awesome. I'm awesome. Soft Skull Press, especially, AK Press.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about Jerry Quickly?
Oh yeah, he's great. Where in the world is Jerry Quickly? Jerry Quickly, I first learned about him on the radio. Huh?
He's working with Philip Glass.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was so cool. I want to see that, Jerry. Dang, that's so crazy. He's and like what? Yeah, I heard that interview and he's always up to some cool shit. He was up in Stanford. He's not a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of good friends of mine. I think he's amazing. He hosted KPFK a lot. He's why I would listen to KPFK because KPFK used to get on my fucking nerves. I would listen to KPFK just because of him. Then they took him off the air because he's like, why are we voting you guys? This is stupid. And then I never heard from him again. And then he came back for a little bit. He's gone. And I'm hoping to reach him with my mind.
Yeah. No. Jerry's definitely someone worth reaching out to.
Vision Theater. I think the Vision Theater is the first time I saw him. Him and Exene by UCLA at the Wadsworth Theater. That was like such a cool event with my homegirl Medusa. That was Art Speaks. It was Art Speaks. That's what it was called.
Is that Exene from the band X?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, those are people that we would see also at Lamert Park. So my heroes,
Yeah. Can you tell our audience a little bit about Exene?
Oh, I don't know anything about Exene except that I love X. Cool ass band. Cool ass.
Tell that. I mean, it's just people's opinions. You don't have to be like the world's leading expert.
No, that's okay. I'm hoping I know Chisme about them or something.
Okay, well, let's move on. Not even we're talking about. How about Medusa? Tell us about Medusa.
Medusa is wonderful. Medusa's a wonderful MC, hip hop artist and poet. I would say she's a poet too.
Yeah. So did you do a lot of you mentioned Lamert? Did you do a lot of did you do any cultural work out there, or just go out check out the scene? I
didn't. I just checked out the scene. I used to be one of the only girls in that hip hop scene. I remember just in the background. I love poetry. I loved hieroglyphics and the freestyle fellowship. I loved how it wasn't misogynistic music. I came kind of from the punk rock world, so the only kind of hip hop I liked had to appeal to my had to appeal to my brain, and hanging out with b-boy people, like hip hop. Hip hop was always raw and beautiful expression, non-commercial. So I found myself over there all the time, for sure. That's the 90s. I totally wasted way too much time down there.
Was that time Project Load?
Yeah, Project Load.
Yeah. So can you tell the audience a little about Project Load, Ben Caldwell, all that stuff?
I don't know who that guy is. Project Load, I would just go because I was following. I don't know who that guy is. Does he owe me money? Is he the guy that owes me money?
Yeah. He owns the cable network. He owns the building.
Oh, cool. Whatever to him. And Yeah, those were really good times. I just really liked the artists. I didn't even know anybody. I didn't know who's who. I wasn't friends with anybody. I would just go because it was beautiful, just beautiful poetry with like just the scene. My goodness, like what a what a beautiful time capsule of life in the '90s. You know, that's '95 to
Yeah.
me. That's '95 to '98. You know, beautiful time down there. There was one event where it was very much with like the underground culture where, you know, you get this ticket and you have to stand over there and wait for this bus. And so we got to do some in Leimert Park. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And the jazz scene, there was a really cool jazz scene I didn't know about because I was just a punk ass kid, but there was a beautiful jazz scene that I'm like, oh, this isn't just the place we go to for hip hop events, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. So did you go to a lot of events at the world stage?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I remember seeing Jerry Quickly there and Exene. Hmm.
And Tumex came out of the freestyle photo, didn't
Yes,
he?
he did. Yeah,
Yeah.
him and I did an event at the Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory 3 years ago. The first time I got cancer, right before the first time I got cancer, and right before his leg was amputated. We did an event together because I'm mostly a nutritionist. I'm all about disease prevention and stuff like that. So my friend Carmelita wrote a grant to the California Endowment, and she's like, "Let me bring you guys on." And I thought it would be awesome because I'm always looking for ways to do health fairs that are not cheesy. You know, a way that really speaks to people, that doesn't speak down to them about food and shit. You know, food access and disease prevention. So Carmelita let us do that. Me and Tumex basically did that. We did a Q&A. We handed out like, you know, information on disease prevention. And then we did another event 3 years later, just a few months ago together. And my cancer has come back. I'm battling that. And then he's been recently having health issues. So, um, yeah, full shitty circle.
Yeah, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how you present healthcare in a way that isn't cheesy?
Um, I think I think that we're not going to get healed at the hospitals,
Mhm.
you know? But I think that as taxpayers, as if you have insurance or not, you have a right to go to the hospital. We should know what our rights are. I don't know that the hospital is the place that we get healthy. That will save us if we need it.
Mhm.
Um, but for 95% of the time, we're going to have to be careful with, you know, food. But we're also going to have to fight for access for that food. It's not just about who can afford to go to Whole Foods. For that reason, I helped start a co-op in Highland Park. I started a food co-op called California Island Market. This was inspired by my life as an organizer in Highland Park when I started cooking with Food Not Bombs. So I'm I'm with a guerrilla chapter called Guerrilla Food Not Bombs, and we're the dopest chapter.
Best
And
story, the dopest chapter.
we're the dopest chapter. We
Best
we play we
matchup.
play well with others. We don't have fake names, and we're really good at extremely good hygiene. So I'm just
You,
saying,
you wear masks?
we wear masks. We're actually not cooking right now. I'm just
Well,
giving a
I don't mean like in the COVID. I was talking indirect shit because I don't I don't want to fight with people, but at the same time,
I
sometimes I fight with
I
people.
know the masks aren't going to save our lives, but you know what? The masks is how we show respect for others that we're trying to save their lives. So
No, no, no. I understand the COVID mask. I meant masks in the non-COVID period. I was talking shit about a different group of people. But anyways, yeah,
that's another show.
that's a different show. That's a different show. That's a different show. We could do a part two. This food co-op. Though, I'm really curious about this. Can you tell us? A lot of people people hear co-op, but they don't necessarily know the what's the word I'm looking for? They don't know the brass tacks. They don't know the bolts, the nuts and bolts of it. How do co-ops work?
I could just tell you how my co-op works.
Yeah, okay.
Uh, Stormy and I, Stormy and I are two moms that wanted better food for our kids, and we are not vegetarians or vegans. We're just people that, uh, because of our because we have more than one child, we found it not feasible to eat out because of the way we feel about, you know, workers and solidarity and fast food. That's the other thing. I stopped eating fast food in high school. So the best thing was to advocate for food. So we had an egg hookup, and we knew somebody that was growing eggs, and we're like, hey, we want to work with you, and that was through Bombs people. So we got our friends to order eggs. It started with eggs, and then the South Central Farm had their CSA program, and I was I was an instrumental or part of South Central Farm. However, when the farm closed and went away, my mom and I were very involved in that. But as far as holding the farm down, that was all the farm people. But in solidarity with the farm, we were bringing CSA over to Highland Park. And that CSA is their garden boxes. So people commit to spending 25 bucks a week of buying my badass vegetable box. Some weeks it's good, some weeks it's amazing, some weeks it's not so great. But you spending that money every week helps us sustain ourselves. That's the that's the basis of some co-ops. Our co-op is like that. We bring food from a farm and we pay a price. We're like the middlemen, and we make sure that that food goes to whoever orders it, and then we prioritize the groups that we work with, the at risk groups that we've always been a part of. I'm partial to elders. I don't know why. I'm a crabby old lady inside probably. I've always liked elders. Thus my diabetes stuff. My business partners has always fed runaway teens and stuff in Hollywood. So between him and I of us, we make sure that the produce goes there when it's in optimal condition after we've been able to sell it to people for regular price. We make sure it goes to all of our groups that we support, that we have solidarity with. So that's how we run our co-op. Also, we're not super legit in the way that we accept credit cards and EBT, but if we know that you're going to get a lot of love from us. That's how we get around that. So we don't have to involve people that don't need to be involved.
Yeah.
And I eat like a king.
I believe it. No,
That's all I wanted to do is just eat really well. And to me, it's like, I'm really happy to just eat really well.
Yeah.
And have a lot of food and stuff. And I want other people to feel good, open their fridge and have food. That's kind of where I'm.
Yeah. So we have kind of we have some comments, not on my page, but on your page. I'm seeing, but also a question from Christopher Gillette, and it says, "How did it go? The interview, not co-owning the store." So I guess he's asking, how did the interview go? The interview that's ongoing now. So I'll rephrase that. How do you think the interview is going?
I think the interview's going great, Chris, and I wish that you joined me. And maybe when Matt revisits Los Angeles bookstores and Los Angeles grassroots bookstore movements, you're going to want to show your face, because I wouldn't have ever had a bookstore without you. I wouldn't have been able to own a bookstore at 21 years old. You know what I'm saying? The picture that I sent you is me and my baby. My kid got to grow up in a bookstore, and that baby's like applying to law school right now.
Wow.
It's cool. She's in college. I birthed a kid that's in college, that little kid.
Yeah. You must be very proud. Where's she going?
She goes to UCLA.
That's a fine school. It's fine.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I didn't know she was going to apply there. That thing she did on her own. I was kind of hoping for Mills, but just happy to have a kid that wants to go to college. Trust me. You live a life like mine, and it's like that was enough.
Yeah. So you food co-op, it kind of sounds to me, I don't know, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of sounds like a lot of like, a preventive medicine through diet kind of thing, and prevent, like you already what you eat kind of stuff. What advice do you have for people right now, during this pandemic? Like, what are some of the things, what are like some of the vitamins of this or that? What should we be ingesting right now to kind of safeguard ourselves as best we can?
I'm glad you asked. My friends are the ones that are really into herbs and stuff like that. I'm just learning about herbs. I actually spend a lot of time trying to tell people, I think medicine is also knowledge. I think medicine is also just being a really good consumer and not buying shit unless you have to. Because of my medical condition, I'm off sugar, but sugar is something that needs to be looked at. Sugar is something that Very stressed. I know from working. One thing I didn't tell you is I just resigned. I just retired, but I've been working for a compounding pharmacist for the last 10 years, and it was dope coming from public health, working in private health. Except it was very self-serving, but working with the well-to-dos of Los Angeles and Palos Verdes taught me a lot, and it taught me that they don't feed their kids the shitty food that we feed our kids. You know what I mean? And it's not to preach. I also want to talk about the very real condition of stress and cortisol. Working for a prominent pharmacist, the more stressed we are, that's cortisol, right? So the more stressed we are, for whatever reason, we crave sugar and carbs. So I don't want to blame people for being stressed. There's a lot of things going on outside. I don't want to tell people don't eat bad, but at the same time, we have to recognize that stress is causing us to do these certain behaviors to our body that are going to affect the way we could fight off germs. So I think it's even more powerful to just keep a really clean bathroom, have a very clean bathroom. These are ways that are going to keep us out of the hospital. Go to the hospital if you need to. Keep your hands clean. Your nails,
Mhm.
keep them short. This is like people with PhDs go to Africa and teach do this. It's crazy. You don't need a PhD to tell people to do that. Probably work for some evil ass NGO, so maybe that's why. But keeping your hand with your nails short, that's real battle. You're gonna find a lot of my friends on Facebook giving classes, remedies. They'll tell you about all the herbs. All I'm gonna tell you is that when we're stressed, we're gonna do things to our body that's not so great. So let's try to be conscious of that. We're gonna do things that are risky. But I think hardworking people deserve sugar sometimes. So just, keep it in balance and eat as much vegetables as you can. And it's not and organic vegetables and fruit have double the vitamins than conventional for lots of. So you do get more bang for your buck. And I am sorry, organic produce costs more. Not at my market.
Yeah, yeah. So how have you migrated some of the work you're doing right now from the world we were in to the world we're in now? Like what's going on with the market, the organic market?
Oh, Stormy's running the market. I don't do shit but eat the food right now. I help with a little bit of advertising and marketing. My friends have been supporting the market really well. I
Mhm.
love my friends. Thank you. And they've been helping the community of Highland Park too. We make sure there's no food being wasted for sure. So Stormy's doing a great job. Her daughter, her partner. I'm not doing much but healing hard. I promised my family I wouldn't get too involved in anything that wasn't going to help come. I just finished 4.5 months of chemotherapy treatment, and and I'm on to the next phase, and it's to heal. My thing is to heal. I'm just healing. I've had to move 3 times. We've been a victim to landlord fraud and shady friend fraud, and really just trying to heal. And I didn't even have my kid, so I'm just trying to bond with my kid during quarantine times and even figure out how to co-parent during quarantine times. So I've got my
Wh-
plate full right now.
Where can people connect to the co-op?
So we're California Island Market. It's a website, californiaislandmarket.com, Facebook California Island Market, and California Island Market on Instagram. And I'm Godmother213 on Instagram if you want to follow me in my journey.
Okay, I'm gonna drop the link to the California Island Market in the comments below.
Thanks, Matt.
What's that?
Thanks, Matt.
No problem, of course. California Island Market. We're coming up on the hour. Is there any like words of comfort, wisdom, knowledge you want to drop in to the audience?
Mm. Don't look to the government for health anymore. Look into like the remedios of your grandparents. If you don't know your grandparents' remedios, your friends have grandparent remedios that are going to help you out right now. My remedio for you is just to get enough sleep. Try to get good sleep. We're getting our sleep taken from us from all the stress. So I wish you all sleep, fingernails, much good food as you can afford, and find ways to relax with your stress. Help you right now.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you,
I
Matt.
thank you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your bravery. I thank you for your the work you put in. I thank you for your humor, and I thank you for this time we've had together.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Talk soon.
Bye.